My patients are VIPs in my office. They aren't any different than any other physician's patients. They just happen to be dead. When I go into my office in the morning and I've lost that compassion and I don't take it home with me, it's time to hang it up, because then I'm gonna start missing things. I'm not gonna care. Those are my patients. They're somebody's loved one. They're somebody's mom, they're somebody's brother, they're somebody's child. And that makes me want to answer those questions for those families. What happened?
Como un mes estuvimos en un cuarto muy chico, mucha calor, no había agua, no teníamos para comer, no teníamos nada. El tipo ese nos cobraba $100 día de por medio para la comida y nos llevaba 2 veces comida nada más. Había un Oxxo al frente, pero nos metía miedo. Siempre nos decía que no podíamos bajar, no podíamos salir porque el cartel, aguantábamos hambre. A veces comíamos una vez al día, a veces ni una vez.
Really, the majority of our border crossers we get ID'd is because we find telephone numbers. Women will take a few of the stitches out of the bra and then they'll put the numbers in there and stitch it back up, or in their headbands. The ones that come with headbands in, 100% of the time, there's telephone numbers hidden in there. They don't want the coyotes, the Zetas, to get those telephone numbers, because then they call their families and they extort them for money.
Pues luego llega a las 12 de la noche y dice el tipo ese, vámonos, 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 vámonos. Allí en la gasolinera llegó un tipo en una camioneta negra, todo tatuado. Cuando llegamos a la orilla del río, estamos calladitos ahí todos.
People ask me all the time, oh my goodness, how do you sleep at night? I don't think death is scary. It's the anticipation of death that's scary.
I remember the first time I ever flew on an airplane. As we flew across the country, I remember looking out the window the whole time, my nose just pressed against the glass, sort of surveying the land below me. I remember having this strange sense of duty to dedicate myself in some way to helping.
Opioid addiction reaching epidemic levels, moving fires in parts of California.
Breaking news, at least 9 people killed overnight in a massacre.
As I grew older, I ended up raising a family and becoming a lawyer and ultimately becoming CEO of Chipotle Mexican Grill.
And it's a vision to change food culture.
One of the things I liked best was interacting with thousands and thousands of people over the years and really getting to know them. Loads of different people from very different walks of life. The more I got to know, the more convinced I was that, man, we're all very much the same in so many ways. And you wouldn't know that from what we see on TV or hear on the radio. All that stuff suggests that we're very divided, that we're not united at all, that we're all about disagreement, that we're all about arguing, that we're all about fighting. But I think the truth is just the opposite. There's a great deal more that unites us. What I want to do with this docuseries is to tell the stories of people who might never be seen or heard, and to help bring the wisdom from many people from many different walks of life so that everyone has access to it. In some ways, I'm still just that small boy with my nose pressed against the glass, looking down at this beautiful place we all live, and wanting to do some good. Wanting to demonstrate that there's a lot more that unites us than divides us. Laredo, Texas is a town on the Mexican border. Somehow it feels both busy and quiet. 15,000 tractor trailers travel through this place every day. Trains and trucks traverse back and forth over the many bridges into Mexico. This quiet, meandering strip of muddy water, the Rio Grande, has been the Mexican-American border for nearly 200 years. It's abuzz with hundreds of border control trucks, law enforcement agents, towers, lights, cameras, boats, and helicopters. The border is a source of mystery, drama, and dreams. From the American side, I feel I can almost reach out and touch Mexico. But in many ways, these countries seem worlds apart. They have different languages, different governments, a huge disparity in wealth, income, and opportunity. One side has a strong system of laws and enforcement, while the other is plagued with corruption and criminal enterprises called cartels. Cartels profit hugely at the expense of poor and desperate people through kidnapping and extortion, human trafficking, bribery, and the transport of billions of dollars of drugs. For the cartels, the United States border has allowed such a dramatic accumulation of profit and power that these gangs now pose a serious competitive threat to the very government of Mexico, whose employees are often in the pocket of cartel bosses. All of us hear stories on TV about the border. We hear politicians fighting about immigration, detention facilities, cages, the wall, border patrol, violence, gangs, dreamers, and illegal aliens. But how often do we hear from the people whose lives are shaped by this border? If we're to find solutions to these problems, don't we first need to understand the people who are affected?
Okay, thank you.
I come here with so much curiosity. It's impossible to ignore this border and the river which marks it. We all agree that every life is precious, so why don't we take a moment to leave behind politics, leave behind judgments, and open our hearts and minds to understand the people living in the busiest inland port in the United States of America. For some, the border is the beginning, a safe place to build a new life, a place where they reunite with family and have limitless opportunity. For many who grew up here, the river holds a certain nostalgia. They used to go across for a meal, a drink, or just a good time. But people warn me, it's not like that anymore.
If you're watching this, if you're listening to this and you hear the word cartel, you might think of a movie, right? Sicario or something like that. That's very real. That's not a lie. You know, those things are real and they happen daily. The common term is secuestro. It's kidnapping. Most of the people that are held are asylum seekers. They're people from, you know, Guatemala, Honduras, Brazil, Nicaragua. Most of them leave because of economic disparity. You know, let's be honest. It takes, on average, about $3,000 per person to get from the southernmost border of Mexico to the northernmost border with Texas. So most of them sell all the property they have, all of it, all of it. Anything they have, a house, vehicle, or everything is sold. So as soon as you get off the bus, or if you're walking in an area where you don't know, they'll recognize you by your clothing, by your language, by everything. Say, he doesn't belong here, she doesn't belong here. Come on, let's get her. You have a cell phone? You have to have a cell phone. Give me your cell phone. Start calling everybody on the phone. We have, what's your name? I need $2,000. I need $1,000. And they'll find somebody eventually. Because you know that if they made it here to the border, they must have money.
We have thousands of border crossers. The majority of these individuals that are coming across, we find out from the family because we speak with the families. They're coming across to work. The majority of the ones that end up on my table that are identified, they're not violent people. They're not coming here to commit crimes. They're coming here to either work and send money back home or to be reunited with their family.
You used to see primarily single adults because they would send the father or an adult male from the household to come and work in the U.S. and send money back. That still exists, but now what you're seeing that you never saw before is you're seeing family units. I've heard people say, well, how could they do it? It's ridiculous for a parent to subject their family, their children, to that journey. Yes, it is very dangerous, but the level of insecurity in those countries that they're coming from is so high that if an adult leaves the household, the risk to the household that stays behind is so much greater that I'd rather take my risk on the road. Laredo calls itself the gateway to the Americas. If you look at a map of Mexico, if you follow the traffic patterns, if you follow the highways, the trains, it all converges in Laredo. Huh. So if you could be sitting in your living room in Honduras right now with your family looking at a map, where do we go? And if you know nothing,
You're going to pick Laredo.
Exactly.
Okay.
You're going to pick Laredo as your route of entry. Now, how do you get there? That's what you got to figure out on your own. I'm a licensed local pastor with the Methodist Church. I made that choice for very practical terms. When you have a caller and I go into the building, I go and ask for something, it's a little more respect. And if somebody comes looking for someone that is here under sanctuary, I can officially say, you can't come here, this is a church. We got a phone call in the middle of the night from a lady who said, I just picked up somebody off the street, and I brought her to this church, and they don't want to take her. And so I was listening to the story, and then she said, and she has a young daughter with her. I said, okay, then no questions asked. She can't be on the street. It's not safe. Bring her here. Brought her here. The lady came. We talked. She tells me a little about her story. She says she's on the run. She escaped. So I tell her right there, I said, we'll offer you sanctuary. And we'll see, for how many days do I have? I said, for as long as you need, no questions asked. So she has been here for a few months now, trying to find her way. She filed charges against a very high person. If she sets foot in that country again, she's dead. And her daughter is dead too.
En Honduras nadie está a salvo ni seguro de nada.
Because of corruption and the government?
Sí, las maras, más que todo las maras.
What is a mara?
Son dos maras, de hecho, la MS y la 18. Las maras son unas personas que se dedican a extorsionar a las demás personas, a hacer daño prácticamente. Esas maras controlan hasta parte de México.
Are these the same as cartels, or are they something different?
No, casi vienen siendo igual.
How did you first learn of these groups, these gangs?
Ellos viven en todos lados, ahí en Honduras. En mi lugar, en mi pueblito, ahí hay una mara que controla. Cuando ya tenía 9 años de casada, murió mi esposo. Lo mataron a él por robarle.
Who killed him?
Se supone que es su mejor amigo.
Did his best friend get caught and go to jail?
No, porque solo estaba yo y mis 3 niños pequeños. Tuvieron miedo de que me hicieran algo a mí o a mis hijos. Pues que murió mi esposo, puse una tortillería. No tenía plata, pero sobreviví ahí para sostener mis niños y mi mamá.
How did they first encounter you, these gangs? How did they first confront you?
Me llamaron por teléfono. Me dijeron, te toca pagar renta, pero no me dijeron cuánto, nada. Solo me llamaron para que yo me preparara. A los 15 días llegó un tipo en una moto. Me dice, oye, Belkis, te toca pagar renta, me dice. Entonces le digo, ¿pero renta de qué? Dice, no, pues a mí me mandaron la orden. Te toca pagar $1,500 de renta semanal.
How much is that in dollars?
$60. Sería la mitad de mi ganancia.
Half your profit?
Sí. Llegaban y yo les decía, no puedo, no tengo.
And then what did they say? When you said you didn't have money, what did they say?
Llegaron, el mismo tipo llegaba y me decían, yo lo siento, pero si a mí me dan orden, te vamos a dar piso. Y pasé muchos días atemorada, con temor que no salía de mi casa. Lloraba, lloraba. Y yo le decía, Señor, ¿pero por qué? Si yo lo único que quiero es trabajar. Llegó un tipo a mi casa que supuestamente era amigo de la familia. Y me dijo, oye, negra, tú eres una mujer luchadora. Y la verdad que yo quiero ayudarte. Y pasó diciéndome él, mira, ve, ahorita están dando permiso con niños. Date la oportunidad tú, te llevo a ti y a tu hija. Yo ya no tenía otra opción.
As I'm listening to Maria's story, it's becoming clear why she felt it was impossible to safely remain in Honduras. In 2015, Maria's hometown, San Pedro Sula, was listed as the most dangerous city in the world. And today, not much has changed. For her, and others like her, this river represents the potential for a new life, free of violence, danger, and poverty for their children and loved ones. For them, it's worth risking everything.
Good morning.
Morning, how you doing?
How are you?
Good.
Welcome.
Thank you. Your mom's a border patrol?
My mom used to be a border patrol.
And your dad?
He's a U.S. Marshal.
A U.S. Marshal?
He used to be a U.S. Marshal. Passed away already.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Sorry. So you have a lot of knowledge about what goes on the border, probably.
Oh,
from
yeah. As soon as my boat touches the water, people know I'm here. There's a specific cartel that runs this area here. Whoever runs this area will know that there was people on the boat and that there was cameras on the boat. So the word will get out.
Yeah, but why? What's someone's concern going to be?
Well, this is their highway. This is where they make money. This is a business route. This area, from what I know, is known for human trafficking.
Okay.
So this
Just getting people across.
This is a very good spot for getting people across.
And obviously, the coyotes charge to take people across the river.
Mm-hmm.
You must see a lot of interesting stuff with people trying to get across and stuff, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Anything you can imagine, from children and families trying to cross to coyotes waiting on points, scouting, to dead bodies floating.
My dad was a psychiatrist. Some of my earliest memories are telling people, I want to be a psychiatrist like my daddy. And he told me, no, you don't want to be a psychiatrist. You want to be a forensic pathologist. I get to be a physician, I get to practice medicine, but I also get to be a detective. About 25% of my caseload is border crossers. It takes up about 40 to 50% of my time, though.
Oh, they're more time consuming.
Yes. You know, we cover 12 counties, and when we bring in a border crosser, there's about 7.5 billion people in this world. And so that's why we want to exhaust all means of getting them identified. I have a lot of methods to get fingerprints from decomposed individuals.
How could you get a fingerprint from someone who's decomposed?
I can deglove them very carefully, and then I'll simply slip their skin over my gloved hand, and I can roll beautiful prints.
And what ages are you looking at?
Runs the gamut. I had a 2-year-old girl one time where the mom and dad weren't coming across, and they wanted their 2-year-old and 5-year-old to come to family members across, and the coyote had the 2-year-old on his shoulders, and he couldn't swim, and he drowned with the 2-year-old, with the mom and dad watching. And the 5-year-old refused, kicking and screaming, so the coyote couldn't take her across. And it was horrific. I mean, those are tough cases. Thought he could walk across the river. Can't walk across this river.
The almighty, man, the Rio Grande, she has no mercy. She don't care what race you are, what color you are. She's gonna take you because she's gonna take you.
So even though this area looks very peaceful and nice and open and free, there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye.
Yes.
If I get out and start walking on the Mexican side right now, within minutes, someone's gonna know I'm there.
Oh, yeah. I've had a guy sit there with an AR just look at me. I waved at him one time, he did not wave at me. I picked up my rods, got ready to leave. Once he saw that I was leaving, I waved at him again, and then he waved at me. And that's just him saying, hey, bro, you got the message. Have a good day. That country over there is being ran by the cartel. There's no government. They are the government. And these people want to get out of that. And I don't blame them.
Being the #1 inland port, people are always going to be looking to fight for that territory. Yeah. And so you have some drug situations. You know, you're messing with their business. That situation happens from up and down, from Baja California down to Brownsville, Texas. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Any border town is going to have
it's going to have its problems.
Yeah,
absolutely. And us being the #1 inland port in the United States,
you're going to get more than your fair share.
Absolutely. Now they're doing things that are a little bit more sinister. You have a lot more bad apples.
We've heard that it's become a lot less safe. Is that true?
I agree, yes. Very true.
A lot of kidnapping and holding people for ransom.
Yes. And so that also puts a burden on our law enforcement, on Border Patrol. My grandfather and I grew up in the ranch, so I would go with him countless weekends and countless time. Anytime I had off, I was there with him at the ranch. And we had border crossers. We had 2 or 3 groups on a daily basis.
Walking right through the ranch?
No, they would walk up to us like with no problems. But those people were just generally always asking for water and food. And they'd ask my grandfather, hey, can I clean your yard for a taco? We had any little canned goods, I remember Spam, anything we had with us, because you'd always encounter them and they would go about their ways. Good people. They're not meaning any malice. They're not meaning any harm.
They're only coming here for opportunity and to make a better life for themselves.
I mean, hey, the United States of America, who doesn't want to try to come over here and prosper, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so how can we blame them? The illegals that are crossing into this country, that they also are scared. Even the good ones, they don't even want to talk to pretty much anybody because they know you're gonna report them. And so what's happening right now is that we're getting a lot of people that are passing, that are dying from this heat, from the 114-degree heat.
Here's a story we're told over and over again. We always cross at night. Everybody has to cross the river to get here. And so we ask them, how did you cross? Did you swim across? Did you walk across the river? Were you in a boat or a canoe or an inner tube? We crossed in a boat, in a small boat. How many of there were you? 20. It's always 20, and they divide into groups of 10. That's what we hear over and over again. Sometimes they'll tell us, no, they took us somewhere to a house in town, and we spent the night, and they woke us up before light, and they dropped us off on this ranch. And then we started walking. We always ask them, did they give you clean water? There were 10 of us, they gave us 2 gallons. Okay, what did you do when you ran out of the water? Well, we started filling it up in the animal troughs. And that's what happens. They're walking out here. It's the middle of August. It's 105 degrees out here. They run out of water. They're already dehydrated. They drink the dirty water. It makes them nauseated. They start having diarrhea. They start vomiting, and they get even more dehydrated. Pretty soon they can't walk anymore. They're sweating, they start getting confused, they collapse, and they die.
You know, you go into your blind during deer season, all of a sudden you walk in and you see bones, or you see a body that's been in there. You know, I've had bodies there at the ranch that have been laying there for a while. Just because they're coming illegally doesn't make them bad people. Who doesn't want a better life? Who doesn't want to do better for themselves? I mean, you're willing to sacrifice anything for your family.
Cruzamos, luego Guatemala fue muy fácil. Cuando salimos de Villahermosa, sentí mucho miedo porque es el cartel que nos llevaba. Iban los 8 carros, las 25 personas. Todos sentimos mucho miedo los que veníamos. porque venía otra muchacha y luego escuchó cuando le llamaron a la persona que llevaba el carro, que si él había cancelado todo, porque si él no había cancelado todo, íbamos a morir. En ese momento pararon todos los carros y dijo el coyote, bájense, bájense, bájense. Y luego vinieron dos motos de este lado y venían dos personas en cada moto armados. Empezaron a discutir con el coyote de nosotros. Y allí el coyote vino y dijo, ¿sabes qué? 4 de ustedes ya no los ocupo. Veníamos bien. Y salimos en taxis y en carros nuevamente. Y nos trajo a Reynosa. Como un mes en un cuarto muy chico, mucha calor. No había agua, no teníamos para comer, no teníamos nada. El tipo ese nos cobraba $100 día de por medio para la comida y nos llevaba 2 veces comida nada más. Había un Oxxo al frente, pero nos metía miedo. Siempre nos decía que no podíamos bajar, no podíamos salir porque el cartel, aguantábamos hambre. A veces comíamos una vez al día, a veces ni una vez. Pues luego llega a las 12 de la noche y dice el tipo ese, vámonos, 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 vámonos. Allí en la gasolinera llegó un tipo en una camioneta negra, todo tatuado. Cuando llegamos a la orilla del río, estamos calladitos ahí todos. Lo cruzamos en una piscina de niño. Nos cruzaron unos tipos muy horribles, tuvimos miedo. Caminamos 2 horas con los niños por en medio de todo y a las 2 de la mañana fuimos a dar donde estaban 2 carros de migración.
After months of struggle, hardship, fear, and living in hunger and filth, Maria and her daughter finally made it across the border, only to be caught and immediately sent back to Mexico, a place where she had no connections, no family, no friends, and no money. Maria saw no choice but to call her coyote, the same man who failed in his first attempt to get her safely to America. I can't help but think about Maria's daughter. Even if they make it across, what kind of life will she have? It's not just the people south of the border who struggle in their relationship with this seemingly peaceful river.
I've been asked before, it's like, do you remember crossing? It's like, no, not really. You know, I have a vague memory of that. And every time I ask my mom about it, she just kind of like, you know, gives me a half-hearted answer, mostly because she doesn't want to talk about it either.
Now, you've got a couple of brothers and sisters?
Mm-hmm. I have an older brother and 2 younger siblings.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they American citizens?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, they were all born here, and then...
So why weren't you born here? Your older brother was born here,
Mm-hmm.
and you had a younger brother and sister who were born here. Why weren't you born here?
At the time, my mom, you know, she went back to Mexico at that time. When she was about to give birth to me, you know, she didn't have anybody to take care of my older brother, and she didn't want to leave him with anyone, you know, that she didn't trust. So she decided to stay in Mexico and have me.
Did that ever feel unfair to you?
I mean, it did, you know. It did, you know, make me feel that I wasn't be able to achieve as much as my siblings would.
Somewhere along the way, did you ever apply to try to change your status?
Why don't you just get your stuff together? Why don't you just file your paperwork? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that, right? It's just become an American citizen. Well, not only is it complicated, right? I mean, there's a reason why we have immigration attorneys and we have people to do that, you know? Plus the fees. Let's say I have several children that I need to get that paperwork done. I can't afford it, to be honest with you. There's no way I can afford it. Really, your best bet is to lay low. Make sure your car has all the inspection stickers. Make sure you drive safe. Make sure you wear your seatbelt. Make sure you don't run a red light. And
Don't stick out.
exactly, exactly.
If I applied, you know, would that put my mom at jeopardy?
You're just kind of putting yourself out there.
Right.
Making something public that you've tried to keep
Right,
a secret.
that this whole time that I've been able to, just kind of stay on the radar. But, that changed last year. I was pulled over. I was driving a vehicle. It was unregistered. They asked for identification. The only thing I could provide was my Mexican consulate ID. And I was subsequently detained.
You have a lot of them going through the system, and their children are going through the system. But they didn't get their green card, or they didn't get permission. But they've gone through elementary, they've gone through middle school, they've gone through high school, they've gotten their college education, but yet all of a sudden, they're not legal. I just found out a friend of mine that's worked here with the sheriff's department, he's had about 3 or 4 different good jobs, and find out that his visa is expired, and so they sent him back.
That was it? They sent him back?
52 years of working here in the United States, and his son called me and said, how can I help him? And I said, I don't know. He said, they're gonna send my dad back to across the river. He doesn't have any family over there. What is he supposed to do? And that's where your compassion comes in and goes, these are the little things that we need to work on. And you got a lot of situations like that. You got a lot of kids, they're here, they're doing everything, and all of a sudden they grow up and they said, no, you can't be here, you gotta go back. How? How do you do that to somebody after living here 20, 30 years? They don't have any family in Mexico.
The Border Patrol officer that was there, he's like, we have to send you to a detention center. I was kept there for 48 days, about close to 2 months. I'm still in what's called removal proceedings, which means I can still be deported.
So it had been 20 years that you'd lived here in this country with your siblings who were citizens, and then all of a sudden you're pulled over, and all of a sudden your immigration status is an issue. How did that feel?
I was afraid of, them being able to, deport me right there and there. I was afraid that, I wasn't gonna be able to see my family again, my mom, my friends and everyone, everything I've come to know in this country, hanging on a thread, your entire life just hangs on that, your livelihood. And to be sent back to a country you haven't known in 20 years, you've never been in contact for 20 years.
Those are the little things that heartbreak you.
Yeah.
That you go, man, that's where the compassion side comes out and say, we have to fix our immigration. Yeah. This is something that's been said by presidents. Every election, for every 4 years for an election of a presidency, you talk about immigration. And what good has it done? And nobody's done anything about it. We could put people on the moon and we can't figure out immigration, how to come in and out, legally, paying taxes.
Well, when you put it that way, it is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Something's going on. We need to stop playing politics and we need to start being compassionate because we're all human beings.
The way they explain it is well, it's not your fault, it's your parents' fault, but how is that supposed to make me feel any better? Your mom shouldn't have crossed you. It's but you don't understand the circumstances under which she made that journey.
Nos tiene 5 días en las hieleras. Nos llevan ellos hasta la mitad del puente donde nos recogen los de Migración de México. Le marqué, dijo, bueno, tienen que regresarse a Reynosa porque por aquí yo las pasé. Entonces yo le dije, pero tenemos miedo porque dicen que en las terminales es ahí donde están todos los secuestradores. Y luego él dijo, no, tranquila, no pasa nada. Y nos lleva a la terminal de buses. Cuando nosotros entramos, miramos aquel montón de hombres que nos rodean, 15 hombres. Me quitaron el teléfono, me menearon de ese lugar, me llevaron a otro lugar. Por 5 días no nos dieron comida. Y un muchacho de Guatemala le regaló a mi hija un paquete de galletas así. Cuando mi hija le pegaba hambre, ella se comía su poquito de galleta y me decía, mami, come. Yo le decía, no, mi amor, no tengo hambre. Y ella se sostuvo con esas galletas por los 5 días. Habían secuestrado 10 días antes a una pareja de Cuernavaca con 3 niños. La señora ya había pagado $10,000 y le estaban pidiendo más dinero y la señora ya no tenía. No tuvo otra opción que mandar ubicación a un familiar y los militares de México han llegado a rescatarnos. Eran las 11 de la noche y así, la cerca así, rodeado de puros militares. Nos llevan al Ministerio Público. La señora que había llamado para que nos fueran a rescatar decía, ella los conoce, ella sabe quién es fulano. Y allí adentro, en el ministerio, me decían de que yo podía ser un testigo encubierto. Pero yo no quise hablar, porque los secuestradores, ellos trabajan con los policías. No me queda otra opción de regresar con los secuestradores nuevamente y que me pasen. Los secuestradores me sacan a las 6 de la tarde de allí y me dicen, por tu lealtad, vas a llegar a Estados Unidos. Estuve 8 días ahí con ellos. Me dice él, sabes, tú sales mañana. Pero todo el mundo decía, pobrecita, pobrecita, decían los que convivían ahí. Porque cuando esos casos pasan, sí tratan la manera de sacar a la persona donde sea que está, lo matan. Pero cuando me van a recoger sola o con la niña, nos montan en una camioneta a la orilla del río. Veníamos 7, 4 mexicanos, el venezolano, la niña y yo. Esperaban, no sé qué esperaban. Cuando menos se acuerde, nos tiran al río en una lancha. Cruzamos, llegamos, subimos el borde del río rápido. Dice, ya nos habían dicho que teníamos que correr 15 minutos el lugar donde nos iban a levantar. Correr. Hubo un momento que yo ya no podía, ya no tragaba, ya no. Niña se separaba y me decía, mami, apúrate, mami. Llegamos al lugar, pasan 5 patrullas y el de levantón llama y dice, cuidadito porque va la patrulla. Entonces nos tiramos. Cuando pasan, teníamos que saltar algo así como lo que es el portón. Entonces viene y al guía le dice el de levantón, ahorita tírate. El del guía se tira rápido al otro lado. Luego viene el venezolano, agarra a mi hija y ¡pus! La tiró. Sí, como que era algo. La tiró y cae la niña y luego digo yo a subirme y me empuja y caigo. Caemos maleteados abajo. Cruzamos solo el venezolano, la niña y yo. Los otros 4 no pudieron. Entonces anduvimos 5 días con mi hija. Vino unas señoras y me vieron. Y las señoras me dijeron que de dónde era, empezaron a platicar, me llevaron a su casa, me dieron comida y me trajeron a este lugar.
¿Nombre, por favor? Okay, un momento, hold on. What makes us unique is that we never say no. You know, whoever comes to our door is going to receive a good welcome, a meal if they're hungry, they can shower if they need to, whatever we can do to make a difference. Service above self. We give out a 25 to 30-pound bag of food to about 195 families every week. 25 pounds of food is only going to hold you for a week for a family size of 4. What do you do after that? Well, we have to help you. We have to help you with home-based budgeting. We have to help you, you know, a real simple thing is learn how to stretch your food, right? You know what I'm talking about if you've lived in poverty. A day before, I will send out emails and make calls and see if anybody has any product that came in. It could be something very simple. A cold storage facility was taking delivery of 20 pallets of broccoli. And if one of those pallets was damaged by the forklift operator, then that entire pallet has to go. And they'll call someone like us, or I'll drop by and say, I'll take the pallet. And so the question is, well, what are you going to do with all that broccoli? Well, I don't know a lot of people that will eat that much broccoli, but I can divide a pallet of broccoli and feed, 40, 50 families.
Somebody asked me the other day, how did I get so interested in working with people? It's because of my parents. They taught me. They taught me by their example. People are crying out in this world for mercy and for love, not just to be seen, important, but to be heard. We were taught at a very early age to help other people. My mom, she taught at a very poor school, and most of the kids were the result of prostitution because they had no other way. My mother never judged them. She'd go out of the house with my favorite sweater. But it was that said, you have 2 sweaters, they don't. If people would get to know one person outside their social circle, it would change the world. Being a sister of mercy means being with people and not judging them. You just want to be with them where they are. My mom died when I was about 21, 22. My dad died when I was 16, so I can journey with people when they've lost somebody. To have somebody be able to just go to their home and have a cup of coffee with somebody and have somebody share something and then tell me, I have never told anybody that in my entire life, sister. That is what gives me the courage and the energy to go every day, that people are willing to share their lives with me.
So to have someone see us, really see us, and this is what you're talking about, what all of us really are seeking in this life, is to be seen, valued, understood, and loved for who we are. With the people who come into your clinic, just the act of seeing them is an enormous and sometimes very foreign first step for them. They haven't had that in a while. And then to understand them through that seeing and knowing, I believe if you really understand anybody, if you actually take the time and the presence and the open-heartedness to actually know and understand somebody, it is inevitable that love will arise.
My grandfather used to have a saying in Spanish, si se habla, se entiende las cosas. If you speak and you converse, you'll understand each other.
Yeah.
You and I had no idea who we once were a couple hours ago before you got here.
Right.
And then we kind of have an idea who we are now.
Yeah.
You kind of have an idea of my insight, my heart. And so this is what life's about. One of my #1 love is the Washington Celebrations Festival. It's the Abrazo ceremony. That Abrazo ceremony has a representative of the United States as well as Mexico. You got 2 nations coming together as one. But leading the charge, 2 children that were picked from Webb County, 2 children that were picked from Mexico, coming together as one. And they hug each other to show honor and respect and love of oneself and one of the country. It's such a powerful message. I just think that we have to some way, somehow find our compassionate side again, work together, become one, including into our nations. Let's just make immigration truly much easier.
My hope for the river is that one day you can come out here and kayak and float and stop and have a cold margarita with some tacos and carry on and be able to get across and go enjoy some authentic Mexican food and music and be able to enjoy the best of both worlds. All right, boys, we're clear. This place shouldn't be treated like that's the dividing line. Even though it is, I'm a die-hard American, man. I'm all about border security. But there's gotta be a happy medium. There has to be.
When I talk to you, I keep thinking, you're an American.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Mexican blood, but I've got blood from England, and this isn't England.
Yeah.
And I've got blood from Germany, and this isn't Germany.
Right.
And you got blood from Mexico, and this isn't Mexico. So I don't see a difference there. But to me, you're an American. But when I asked you that at the beginning, do you consider yourself Mexican or American? You said, oh, I don't know, it's a hard decision. But I'm feeling, and this I may just be full of baloney, but I feel like if I were in your shoes, I'd be like, no, I'm an American.
I don't feel American because my entire life I've been denied that.
I see, I see. But how about if I said, do you feel Mexican?
Even then, I'd probably have to say no. You're torn in between a country that you were born in, but you were never raised in, and a country that doesn't recognize you, but you were raised your entire life here.
You must have gone through a lot of turmoil in thinking. You must have felt lonely and angry and scared and anxious in detention.
I mean,
you must have had moments that weren't as calm as these.
Am I afraid every time I go out the door just to maybe just walk my dog? You know.
Are you?
Yeah. The most important thing to me right now is my family, and if I get deported, I'm gonna lose that. You know, we've always been together. My whole life, you know, my whole 25 years of existence in this world. You know, I've always had my mom and I've always had my family with me. It's never been any different, and I don't want that to change. If they decide to deport me, I have a 10-year bar, meaning I can't re-enter the country in that time period. I can't apply for any immigrant benefits in that time period. And if I do cross over, you know, and violate that, you're barred for life if you lie about your citizenship. You can't apply for any immigrant status in the United States ever if you lie about your citizenship. It's a federal crime. Every time I come close to the river, I just imagine, you know, at one point, I'm gonna be on the opposite side of this, staring at the country I once called home. You want to hope that, you know, they made a mistake, you know, or that, you know, this isn't really happening.
Do you think it would be pretty easy to come back if you get deported?
No. Would I run a risk of, you know, being caught and detained again? Yeah, definitely.
You've risked everything, including the safety of yourself and your daughter and your family at home, to come to the United States of America. What is the promise of the United States of America in your mind?
Más que todo, Estados Unidos es un país de oportunidades para nosotros, un país donde podemos ayudar a nuestras familias, un país donde mi hija tiene su futuro. Siempre me enfoqué en eso, que tal vez yo ya no valía nada, que tal vez yo ya no podía lograr nada en este país, pero mi hija sí.
I want to bring more compassion to the world so that people can learn that the best life is a life where we love each other and help each other, and not one where we harm each other.
Eso es lo que yo le puedo mandar un mensaje a la gente, que yo sé que también han de haber muchas personas que han pasado el proceso mío, o peor, porque hay muchas familias que nunca se sabe, vuelven a saber de sus familiares. En cambio, yo he tenido esa gran bendición de poder compartir con ustedes, con otras personas.
I can't help but think that there's a better solution for Maria, her daughter, and Uzi, and the millions of people on both sides of this river who are dreaming of a better life. Is it really necessary for people to sell everything they own with no guarantee of a positive outcome? Is it necessary that people walk through deadly conditions for weeks just to find themselves on Dr. Stern's table? Or living permanently in the shadows where they're never able to be at their best or give their best to this country? We can all agree that death and suffering are undesirable. We can all agree that having people hide in the shadows isn't the best option. People on both sides of this river seek the same thing: safety, comfort, and the ability to make something of their lives. To be seen, valued, loved, and understood. As American citizens, We have immense privileges that we've inherited by simply being born on this side of the river. I'm a lawyer and I'm a realist. I know we can't just open our borders and let everyone in. But is this system we have now really the best we can do? There's no immediate and simple solution. But some people are already warriors on a mission to put their hands on the problem. There are people who refuse to stand by and do nothing in the face of this drama. To do now what they can do. I met people who faced hardships so immense that they risked their lives to reach this country, which they saw as a beacon of hope and redemption.
Ya cumplí un año de haber salido de mi casa y aún no he llegado a mi destino. Pero yo sé que lo que Dios empieza lo termina, porque si es...
You described many people who did you wrong, who betrayed your trust, threatened your life. How is it that you're able to keep such an open heart and a trust in God and in there being good people who are going to help you? How are you able to remain so trusting?
Dios ha puesto muchas personas como unos ángeles para apoyarme en el transcurso de todo mi viaje, de todo mi camino. Caer en ese secuestro que fue algo horrible y Dios permitió que yo saliera de ahí porque hubo un momento que vi la muerte junto con mi hija y yo, mi hija más pequeña, más delgada, en peores condiciones, y yo decía, no puedo. Yo le decía, amor, regresémonos, pero siempre ella me impulsaba. Ella me decía, mami, vamos, podemos. No podemos regresarnos. Yo quiero llegar a Estados Unidos. Yo nunca perdí la fe y la confianza en Dios. Nunca. Yo siempre dije, no estoy sola.
What would it mean to you and your daughter if you could be legal residents of this country, could come and go as you pleased and do what you wanted here?
Fuera algo maravilloso. Fuera algo increíble.
I'm really sorry for all you've been through, but I'm glad you've made it here to this country, and I hope that I hope your stay in this country gives you everything that you're searching for and everything that you want for yourself, your daughter, and your family. And thank you very much for sharing so much with us and for trusting us.
Que Dios les bendiga aún más y los guarde siempre, porque no cualquiera le puede interesar el problema de los demás.
I see this river on the one hand as a broker of life and death, wealth and poverty, safety and danger. But I also see it as a gateway to unity, togetherness, and the triumph of people's efforts to overcome obstacles that are more immense than most people have ever faced. Their struggles remind me of the gratitude I feel for the luxury of freedom and safety that I experience each day in this country. Finally, I again see how we are all united through a common bond, sharing a life that is both fragile and precious, and where our greatest satisfaction comes from having a chance to help others.